being, bearing the pain. We're all going to have to take some reductions in budget. I've been looking at your line items, your events budget, your advertising budget, your PR budget, your online budget, and so forth and so on. I think if we do a little nip and tuck here, and a little nip and tuck here, and a little slicing and dicing here, we can shave some things off and save the company some money. Anybody have that conversation in the last couple of years? Something, maybe it wasn't quite that friendly, but that kind of a conversation? Well, if we don't figure out what does and doesn't work and have the right metrics, we're going to be having that conversation a lot more frequently as time goes on. So one of the things that we need to do is to have a more strategic conversation with our friends in finance. And that requires us to make a transformation from talking about outputs, the stuff we produce in marketing, the collateral, the events, the sales tools, the press releases, the white papers, the case studies, all the things we spend our money on, to transform from that kind of a conversation, which is about the stuff we do, to the outcomes we produce. That is the results that we are having on the business, the impact that we're having on the business. So if we can change that conversation, we can play a more strategic role in the company and change the way we're perceived by the finance and other members of the C-suite. So this is a hypothetical budget, but I bet it looks similar to maybe the one that you have. The budget on the left, right, this donut here, that's what, whether or not the percentages are the same as what you have, that's what a lot of marketing budgets look like when they tally it up. Some bucket in advertising, some bucket in PR, some bucket in events. How many of you have a budget that might look something like this? Raise your hand. No? You don't have your budget done by outputs? How do you have your budget? Who has a budget done differently? Oh, you thought this was a spectator sport? No, that's not going to fly. Come on, guys. It's after 10. Wake up. How do you have your budget if it's not done by outputs? Does anybody have their budget done differently than that? Most marketing budgets are done just like you see here. I mean, I've looked at about, 1,500 marketing budgets in the last dozen or so years, and they're all pretty similar. The budget on the right is actually a different way of looking at your budget, and it's around what the organization in marketing is expected to produce. How many of their dollars are going to go into acquiring customers? How many of their dollars are going into customer retention initiatives? And how many of their dollars are going to go into customer growth? So imagine this conversation with your finance guy. He comes walking in and says, we'd like to have a conversation with you about where we can take some dollars out of marketing. And you say, great, how would you like to do that? And they're looking at the budget and they said, well, we'd like to take some money out of the customer acquisition budget. Great, I can do that. How many fewer customers would you like us to acquire? And then I will go delete the appropriate items off of the outputs that we're going to produce that are intended to drive that. Do you think that changes your conversation? Better yet, I think we should retain fewer, less customers in 2011 than we did in 2010. Do you think that would change the dialogue that you would be having internally? You could certainly say yes, right? We're happy.